The magical Tantas appears at the beginning of the prequel story, playing the pious villains she's tasked with defeating if Frey Hollander ever wants to return to New York. However, when delving into Tantas' history, these characters go one step further than your average Final Fantasy-style villain. One place to begin with the full story of Tanta and the prophecy is to note that these powerful sorceresses were not quite the godly women that ardent worshippers believed them to be in Asia. In order to gain insight into the true history of the class of women known as Tanta, it is important to discuss the history and ending of the prophecy in order to fully understand it. Warning: this video contains extensive spoilers for Forspoken. Proceed at your own risk. The first Tanta of the prophecy is not a god. Frey has found only a few notes from Athia's earlier days, and only 6 works from the first Tanta are available through the Forspoken's locked labyrinths. But as these few snippets of her history show, the first Tanta was nothing more than a female warrior gifted with magic, rather than the deity known to those who bore her title in the 3,800 seconds. She is known to defend herself against Red and Suzera's, a powerful demon summoned by the warring nations. After fighting Suzera's for 6 days, she simply sealed away the demon and didn't completely kill it, but the first Tanta was still awarded the title of Tanta for saving her people. Without this first woman, it's hard to say exactly how many people gained the title of Tanta and inherited the magical abilities inherent in the Forspoken. The historical record makes it clear that this distant Tanta ancestor seems to have disappeared, and the 4 young women who currently hold the title are the only ones of note for nearly 4,000 years. An explanation of the 4 Tanta characters that were abandoned before the hiatus. Although Frey's relationship with Cuff and the latter's account of Tanta's history from his perspective are not initially apparent, the 4 women who ruled Asia were once completely benevolent. Each of them is dedicated to an activity that will excel in their own personal field, but also advance Adia as a whole. All 4 then meet once a year in Chipple to discuss how to better improve Adia and continue working together for the benefit of the people. Each Tanta's responsibility and prophecy can be divided into 4 different pillars that each represents. Sealer raises an army to stop invaders like Redig as a warlord. Prav introduced the rule of law and arbitration punishments that seem so reasonable that no criminal challenged their punishment. Obsessed with knowledge, Oris gathers scientists from around the world and teaches the children of Asia. After all, Cinta is a figure of servitude of sorts, and her role as a loving Tanta encourages her people and fellow Tantas to be kind. What happened to Forspoken Tantas after the hiatus? As the story of these Tantas approaches the point where foretelling opens, things begin to darken. It begins with a war against a group of foreign invaders known as the Redig. Although the cause of this war seems to have been lost in time, writings from this era of the battle provide a timeline of events where Redig would be repulsed only a few months after the initial attack. However, after being refused, Redigan was still able to free Suzel, a monster that had previously been summoned to Earth by the radars and sealed away by the first Tanta. To stop the demon Suzera's, 4 19th century Tantas come in the form of a set of 4 magical bracelets. They will eventually drive each one out of their minds, forcing them to warp the pillars, weeding out all those not strong enough to be warriors, harshly judging innocent transgressors, and turning all their knowledge inward and serving to accumulate themselves. This is the exact opposite of what these women represented before, completely distorting the realm of Forspoken Athia. But their wits and kindness aren't the only things ants lose when the hiatus begins. Considered one of the strongest and kindest of these powerful women, Cinta seems to have the most to lose. In the short 3 years between the war with Redig, Cinta discovered a way to open her torrents to other realms, and in New York met a man she called a brave hero. So when Suzaru's downfall hit her, it meant she had to abandon her daughter, Forsell character Frey Holland, and turn into an all-destroying dragon Mark. Isolated villains angry Frey. When the events of Forspoken began with 21-year-old Freya Holland, Tanta had isolated herself, in part to protect her people from their own madness. But when Frey appeared and began openly traveling through Atia in the foreshadowing, the remaining Tantas were forced to track him down and confront the intruder. Unfortunately for Tantas and Frey, the desire to fight is not of their own making, but a byproduct of Suzera's incentives. The age of the 4 ants ends with Frey chasing them down and killing as many of them as possible while being fed by a demon attached to her wrist. It is a tragic ending that these benevolent overseers, determined to lose hope of having a family of their own, will sacrifice their sanity and ultimately their lives in an effort to fight Red and Redig's final curse. Of course, with these former rulers handing over their powers and orders, the Forerunner ends with hope for the future, and with the possibility of a second game, this could be an incredible series. Preface is now available for PC and PS5. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and support my channel.